Hello, today's lesson is on polynomial division and synthetic division. So we're going to start actually with long division, but usually when I start with long division, I go back to some elementary school. So we're going to talk about what do we do when we divide, say, 27 into 4,761. Okay, so what we do is we ask ourselves, okay, will 27 go into 4? Well, we say no. Will 27 go into 47? Yeah, it'll go in there once. And then what we do is we multiply the 1 times the 27 to get 27. And then what do? Well, we subtract. And that's going to give me 20. Then I'm going to bring down my 6. So I've got 2 of 6. So I ask myself, how many times will 27 go into 2 of 6? Well, if we think of 25, 25 would go in there 8. So it's probably not quite 8. So let's try 7. So if we take 7, 49, so 14, that would give me 189. So if we subtract, which is what we're going to do again, that's going to give me a 17. Bring down my 1. Well, it's not going to go in there 7 again, so let's try 6. So 6 times 7 is 42. That gives me 12 plus 4. Gives me a 16, and I subtract again, which that's going to give me 9. And if you remember back to elementary school, that's what we called our remainder, and we would write something like remainder 9. So really what we're doing with long division is something very similar to that. But we start with the x, and we say, what are we going to multiply x by to make it a 6x cubed? So we have to multiply by 6x squared. So when we get up here, when we had the 1 times the 27, we put 27. This time, we're going to take 6x squared times x minus 2. And that's going to give me a 6x cubed and a minus 12x squared. So what do we have to do? We have to subtract, just like we did in our long division. So we're going to put minus and then plus, because subtraction is going to switch our signs. The 6x cubes will cancel. Combine your like terms here. And we get negative 7x squared, and bring down my 16x. What do you have to multiply x by to make it a negative 7x squared? Well, that's going to give me a negative 7x. Again, we take that negative 7x times our x minus 2, which is going to give me negative 7x squared, and then a plus 14x. Again, we have to subtract these. So when you subtract, you're switching your signs. These will cancel. So then we get 2x, bring down our negative 4, and ask ourselves the same question. What do we have to multiply x by to make it a 2x? Well, that's going to be a 2. So multiply through. That's going to give me a 2x and a negative 4. Switch your signs. And notice here we get a remainder of 0. Now, if you have a remainder of 0, that does mean that this is a factor of that polynomial. So let's look at another one. This is another long division, but notice we're missing an x cubed term. And so usually when you're missing a term, you want to put in a placekeeper. And the placekeeper we're going to use for this is 0x cubed. There's really nothing there, so we can put a 0 in front of the x cubed. Again, we're going to do the same thing. What do you have to multiply x by to get x to the 4th? We have to multiply it by x to the 3rd. Multiply our x cubed by x plus 3. That gives me x to the 4th plus 3x cubed. Subtract. That gives me a negative 3x cubed. Bring down my negative 10x squared. Ask yourself the same thing. What do you multiply x by to make it a negative 3x cubed? You have to multiply it by a negative 3x squared. It's going to give me a negative 3x cubed and a negative 9x squared. When you subtract, again, we switch our signs. That gives me a negative 1x squared. Bring down my negative 2x. Repeat my process. What do I have to multiply x by to make it a negative 1x squared? I have to multiply by negative 1x. That gives me a negative 1x squared and a negative 3x. When I subtract again, I switch my signs, which is going to give me a x or a 1x Bring down my 4. What do you multiply x by to get x? You have a 1. So we'd have 1 times that, which is going to give me an x plus 3. Switch my signs, and now we have a remainder of 1. Now, when I write this, I could write plus 1 over what we are dividing by, which is x plus 3. And that would be my solution. So we can do the same thing using synthetic division. So earlier we did long division with the same problem. When you do synthetic division, you think of when is that equal to 0? Well, that's equal to 0 when x is 2. So that's why we put the 2 down here. Then what we do is we put our coefficients. So we bring down our coefficients. Notice that they have to be in order and we cannot skip any coefficients. So the first thing that you're going to do is bring down your 6. 2 times 6 is 12. Add, we get a -7. 2 times -7 is a -14. Add, it gives me a 2. And 2 times 2 gives me 4. And this last number here is a 0. Well, that 0 represents your remainder. Now, if you have an x cubed to begin with and you're dividing out a linear term, you're taking 1x away. So then you are left with 6x squared minus 7x plus 2. And again, this is your remainder. So this is your solution. So there's a few examples then of polynomial long division and of synthetic division. If you need any help, please let me know and have a great day.